I let him humiliate me for 3 years. Then I destroyed his career before it started. There's a particular kind of person who thrives in environments where hierarchy goes unquestioned. Derek was that kind of person. He found me on the first day of our undergraduate program, architecture school, notoriously brutal, the sort of place where sleep deprivation is worn like a badge and cruelty gets dressed up as critique. I was quiet, scholarship funded, and from a small town nobody at that university had heard of. To Derek, who had grown up wealthy and coastal and certain of his own brilliance, I was an obvious target. It started with comments during studio reviews. Small, surgical things, observations about my work delivered just loudly enough for the room to hear, framed as concern. He had a gift for making condescension sound like mentorship. By the second semester, he had cultivated a loose coalition of students who laughed at the right moments and stayed quiet at the wrong ones. I became the reliable punchline of the cohort, the provincial kid who didn't belong, the charity case who was one bad review away from washing out. I did not retaliate. Not because I lacked the desire, I had an abundance of it, but because I understood something Derek didn't. He was loud. Loud people leave evidence, so I worked quietly, obsessively, strategically. I documented everything, screenshots of messages, notes with dates and witnesses, a folder on my laptop that I added to with the patience of someone who fully intended to use it eventually. I also, critically, got extraordinarily good at architecture. Better than Derek, which wasn't initially difficult because Derek's talent was roughly 30% genuine ability and 70% confidence performed at high volume. By our third year, the dynamic had shifted just enough that he felt it and responded by escalating. That was his mistake. Escalation generated more evidence. The breaking point arrived during our graduate thesis presentations. Derek sat on the informal peer panel, a tradition in our program where senior students offered feedback alongside faculty. He spent 11 minutes dismantling my presentation in a way that crossed clearly and documentably from critique into personal attack. He referenced my background. He implied my funding was a departmental obligation rather than merit. He did it in front of faculty visiting professionals and a regional director from one of the most prestigious firms in the country who was attending as a guest evaluator. I let him finish. I thanked him for his feedback with complete sincerity. Then I presented the final portion of my thesis, which the guest evaluator later described in writing as the most promising student work she had seen in over a decade of visiting programs. She offered me a junior associate interview on the spot. Derek applied to that same firm 4 months later as we were all entering the job market. It is a small industry. People talk. I had not said a single word to anyone at that firm about Derek. I didn't need to. The regional director had been in the room. She had watched him for 11 minutes. She had formed her own conclusions. His application did not advance past the first round. The folder on my laptop, the one I had maintained for 3 years with the patience of someone who was absolutely going to use it eventually, I submitted to the university's student conduct office 6 weeks before graduation, quietly, with a cover letter that was precise and unemotional and referenced specific dates, specific witnesses, and specific language. 3 other students, it turned out, had been keeping their own records. We had never coordinated. We had simply, independently understood the same thing about loud people. Derek did not attend the graduation ceremony. I don't know the full details of what transpired between him and the conduct office, and I did not ask. What I know is that the industry we entered is small and has a long memory, and certain outcomes have a way of preceding a person wherever they go. I have been at the firm for 4 years now. I made senior associate last autumn. My name is on work that has been published in 3 international design journals. I think about Derek occasionally, not with anger, not anymore, but with something closer to clinical curiosity. He was so certain that volume was the same thing as power. He never understood that the quietest people in the room are often simply the ones who have decided to wait. I waited. It was worth every single day.